Welcome to the League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
My name is Mark.
Today we're talking about our
You said it with a little sass.
Okay.
A little sass, a little flair, right?
Uh-huh. Sassafras. Oh, Mark's
pop a
popping
little champagne.
I like how you're popping champagne and then you unscrewed the champagne. You were really excited to pop it, and then you were like, "Oh, this is bubbles coming."
Good save.
Ooh, I didn't even think to get champagne. That's genius.
Well, there's a reason I'm unscrewing it. It's because it's the cheapest champagne
I
that
see.
money can buy.
That's fine.
And why are we drinking champagne, you might ask?
Well, sometime about Tuesday night, I believe, or Wednesday morning, which is when we're recording this, we hit 1 million downloads. I'm so sorry. Why did I say it like that? I didn't plan to.
Because you can't say 1 million without...
I know. Honestly, it was fitting, right? Keep the Austin Powers refs going forever.
You know, 1 million downloads, it's not really a lot these days.
You know what? Compared to other podcasts, it's probably true. But we are 3 absolute nobodies who decided to read the lore the worst possible way you can read the lore in League of Legends. And
in alphabetical order.
yeah, so we weren't expecting anyone to listen, and there are people here. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
I actually looked at our
It's
unique
insanely
listeners,
cool.
too.
Oh, yeah? Go on.
Which I feel like is probably more...
Accurate to how many people?
a negative than a positive.
Oh.
But still fun. Over 500,000 unique people have listened to the podcast.
Oh, wow. That is way more than I was expecting.
Right.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say like 500. I'm like, wow. That's...
They listen to it so much.
I know.
right.
So, y'all out there who listen to every episode, you really make up the bulk of our downloads.
For sure. The handful of people that are going to click on this episode, because I don't assume this is going to be the most popular. Champions do.
I don't know what you mean.
That could be
People
something we
love
talk
to
about
listen-
one day, or the stats of like the champions and stuff, or like who are the most downloaded ones, because that's honestly kind of interesting.
It is very interesting whenever you're like, oh wow, someone did like breakout like performance and we don't expect it at all. It's kind of interesting. It makes us wonder why.
It does. I mean, like, Arcane bumped into the top 10, which we expected. And I think Aatrox is still the most downloaded because it's just the first one. But outside of that, random champions, I think Jhin is the most surprising, who's in the top 10, which is just weird. And we weren't expecting Jhin to do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It kind of makes sense in hindsight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got good lore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he in the top 4?
Ooh.
That's really the ultimate goal for Jhin, I guess.
That's true. I don't think so. Probably not. Poor Jhin. Well, today, anyway, though, we did ask on Twitter and on our Discord for some questions. And we have a handful here that we can, ramble about. John's drinking some 9:30 p.m. coffee because tonight at midnight...
It's Final Fantasy 7 night, baby!
Oh, you're going to be pulling an all-nighter?
I took the
You're
next
taking
2
time
days off of work.
Yeah, he took time off work for this. Yeah.
Man, well, it's a good start to a good night then, it seems.
I know, right? I also put whiskey in that coffee.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
Oh, I like it.
I'm just having wine, like a goober.
Yeah, I'm having the driest of $7 champagne.
How is it for $7 champagne? How you feeling?
It'd probably be good in a mimosa.
I was going to say, you need to add some orange juice.
Need to add something.
Yeah.
But we'll power through.
Okay.
You're an inspiration.
How does he do it? Yeah. Should we do the Twitter ones first? You only have one Discord one, I think, right? All right. So our first question, comes from Dolly, who asked most fun and least fun episode to make. To make is interesting because I feel like they've all been fun. I can't think of like an unfun episode that we've done. Although like sometimes the prep isn't as fun.
Yes. It's mostly the prep.
Yeah.
I feel like recording the episodes is always a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Some of them are less fun to prepare. Honestly, Viego to date was the least fun to prepare for.
Oh, wow.
We just
that was
recorded
so
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
that's why we had to bring
nightmare.
in a ringer, right?
Yeah.
We had to bring someone in just so I wouldn't go insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that. I mean, I will say, I guess maybe Hecarim, because we had a little oopsie with the Hecarim episode.
We had to redo
and
that
Heimerdinger.
Heimerdinger, too.
And Heimerdinger, we also had to bring in
yeah, we
Brandon
brought Sarah
to come help us.
We're like, we've already done this. Can you be here for this?
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah.
We wanted to get ahead of things too, because the baby was coming soon. We were like, oh, we're going to record double. And then we had to redo both of them. That was hard. That was harsh.
That is rough.
After every episode, I will say I always am so paranoid about, like, did I get the audio exported? Is the video good? Because I can't imagine coming back and having to redo an episode. I feel like it would kill. Like you said, it's a lot of fun to record. But, like, having to go back over the same things, and it's, like, trying to bring up the same points, it's like, oh, man, it just kills it.
And then you're not going to have the jokes. Like, you can't redo the jokes. You just feel like a fucking idiot. So you got to come up with all new ones.
Unless you have one really good one.
That's true, I guess. I had trouble. I mean, like, how serious do I want to get right now? There was a period of time when the postpartum depression was pretty bad. And for me, that came about as anger, and I feel like I didn't really notice it as I was prepping the episodes, and I should have, because I would like click on something and go to read it and just be filled with a blinding rage that I was having to read the story, and I don't know why. But well, no, I do know why. My hormones were all over the place, and I think the one it was most reflected in with was like Kiana, which I felt bad about, that I really like barely read Kiana's lore and was just like angry about it and hated her and hated everything about it and took it all out on that. And I do I'm sorry about that. It wasn't
sorry,
Kiana. It's not your fault.
I mean, you are kind of a villain, so I'm not sorry to you specifically.
Not too much.
But
I really needed some antidepressants that I didn't know. So I feel like that was the period of time that was like the least fun, whereas in those queues, the most fun. What were the most fun ones to prep for?
That's a good question.
I mean,
think it's other ones where it's like
Jax. I could tell just by reading Jax's lore that he was going to be fun to talk
really
about.
Fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Graves and TF were fun to prep for.
Yeah, generally when the stories are really good, I think it's like because you're excited to be like, it's fun to complain about things and like, oh, they're gonna hate this, but it's even more fun to be like, this was great, and I think they're gonna think it's great.
Yeah,
and we can all commiserate about, like, I don't know. I think of like Echo. I guess is like one that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll enjoy it again going back to it.
When we have to redo Echo.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, what have I done? Okay, never mind. We're good. The next question comes from Demon, who asked, what piece of lore surprised you the most throughout your time making the podcast? There's a few questions, but that's the first one. So, piece of lore that surprised you the most. Ooh, I feel like...
Honestly, in Battle Broken, probably.
What was that one?
The Pantheon story.
Yes!
Because I was not expecting Pantheon to have any
like a
deep
sad,
lore,
very
human
like, story.
I thought it was going to be just like mostly action pieces.
Yeah.
That is true.
It came out of nowhere for me.
That's true. I think also because, we really hated Rise of the Sentinels, and I think if you had asked us maybe immediately following that, like, do you think that anything, like, they'll make any good lore pieces related to that?
Yeah.
At least I would have been like, fuck no.
Yeah.
Hell no. Get it out of it. Stop it. But, that's a good one. Again, it's funny enough I mentioned Echo. I think Echo was a really big surprise with me because I kind of understood him on the surface level, and then when we got to like his story and it was so touching, it was kind of shocking. I kind of felt that way with Jana a little too. I know in her short story she's barely in it, but I found that one very touching as well. Anything that affects me emotionally, I tend to find very like surprised that Lee can do that.
Yeah.
I think Darius is up there as most surprising. I didn't think his lore was going to be what it was. I didn't think he was going to have like a kid. Like we're going to see him like fucking. Yeah. Well, we didn't like fully see it, but
But we imagined it.
The aftermath
every day. Yeah, we role played it privately. I was Darius, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Demon also asked, do you have any regrets when it comes to your time making the podcast? Anything you wish you could redo? Mine would be that dark time. Again, I would like to redo some of those champions that I feel like I didn't read the lore very much.
I mean, mine would be Aatrox.
Yeah.
Because like you mentioned, it's our most downloaded episode because it's the first one alphabetically. And it was our first, we had no idea what the podcast was gonna be. I feel like going back and listening to it now, the amount of unique listeners we have makes sense, because a lot of people listen to that episode and they're like, nah, it's not for me. I would love if we had another chance to just re-record that and give people a different first impression of the podcast.
I don't even know if it was a good first impression. I haven't listened to it since.
I doubt it is. We have a lot of bounce off that episode.
I can't imagine that it is. I don't know. Yeah. It's hard because at the time, too, it was sort of like the fun of it was the idea, I think, that we were kind of like discovering it. And I think that's been a lot of fun. But, you know, the journey of 1,000 steps does start with that first step. And that one's kind of like, they're a little wobbly, maybe would be a way to describe it, you know?
Twisted our ankle on the first step.
Oh, yeah.
Bit. I've been limping ever since.
I feel that. I kind of wish, it's not so much about like any specific episode that I want to re-record, but I kind of wish like maybe we had done some things with the Patreon different, if that makes sense. Like maybe if we'd been more consistent about getting good content out to the patrons, because I'm always really appreciative of that support. And I think that, you know, there are times where we do a really good job of keeping up that bonus content coming, and then sometimes where it's like, you know, life comes at you fucking fast, you know, it's like we forgot to meet and discuss it. So I don't know, that's kind of something I might, if I could go back and redo something. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel that.
Me too.
All right, the last question Demon asked was, if you could read anyone's lore for the first time again, who would it be? Current or old? Ooh.
Interesting. So I can excise everything, like just them specifically from my brain, and then rediscover it.
Yeah, just like rediscover it.
Man.
I'm trying to think of like what was just like shocking and satisfying to read, I guess.
I feel like I'm just going to keep saying Echo. I really don't want to do that though. Maybe
okay.
Maybe if I could forget about like the new Mundo and I could go back and reread just the old Mundo lore, and then I didn't know about the new stuff.
That's a great
pretty
answer.
Good.
Yeah, that's perfect.
If if I could excise all knowledge of Jin and who he is, and then read his lore for the first time from like a completely blank slate, I feel like that would be pretty fun. He's got such a strong hook that I feel like when you read his lore after knowing the hook, like a lot of it's like, this kind of makes sense. It's cool, but it makes sense. But I would love to go in completely blind and just be like, damn, this guy's cool as fuck.
I do feel that way about like champions, just broadly for League, where it's like, you know, you're so familiar with like, I don't know, Nocturne or whatever your flavor of like, that's a cool champion is. It's really hard to kind of see them with those fresh eyes of like, what's this guy? I don't know. He's some giant smoke monster who's like, that's a nightmare. That's pretty cool, or whatever, you know. Who's this? You know.
Can I erase his ear and keep it gone?
And just not read it.
Rough. All right, next comes from Magus. What were your impressions of the lore when you started, and how has it changed after reading so much of it?
Interesting.
I would say, because starting with Aatrox, I only knew, like, I don't know, the really surface level stuff. Like, Lux and Garen are related. You know, like, I knew that. I guess I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I have, or connect with the stories in the way that I have. Well, some of them, obviously. And I didn't think, I feel like I like the game more, knowing more of the lore, which is weird, but yeah, that's there.
I could see
that. No, I think that makes sense. I mean, I think that's what drove me to the lore a lot in the past when I was playing a shit ton of League. You know, it really enhanced my experience with the game. You know, like you said, you know, you find yourself being more into like these little characters that you spend so much time with, right? And it's like, I know that guy, what his shtick is or what have you.
Especially when you get those like lore specific quests that pop up in game.
Yeah, or quotes, like you hear them say something and you're like, oh man.
I know why you said that.
Yeah.
I get that. I know what. Yeah.
Let's see. I would say two things for me. One, I expected the lore to be more surface level, I would say.
Yeah,
like
same.
I kind of expected the stories to be kind of the same as the bios in terms of the storytelling. I wasn't expecting them to get as deep as a lot of them did. And I think I was also expecting and this one seems crazy to expect, but I just kind of did. But I expected the quality to be more consistent between stories, you know, which like they're all different writers. Of course, it's going to be different, but sometimes it's like really highlighted. Like we'll read just such an amazing piece, and then for the same champion, there'll just be such a, you know, such a surface level piece, kind of like what I was expecting at the beginning, and the difference in quality is stark sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. I think kind of in that point, something I kind of my expectation sort of was that it was a little more cohesive as well, just in terms of like this is what this is like what's actually the world, this is what's going on. I think some of that, I could be wrong. You can tell me what you think. I think some of that comes about because I mean we're both. I don't know, maybe I wasn't right when they did the revamp, but I think I was really into the lore, maybe, if nothing else. I was really into League when they did when they did away with the League of Legends proper and all that.
Oh,
and I think at the time... Then. Yeah, I remember when the Shurima stuff came out. And I think at the time it felt like, wow, you know, they've really gathered up all this energy and momentum and really put forward that, hey, we're going to put this one cohesive, like, high-quality world out there, you know, and maybe it comes slower, but it's going to be really good. So I think, you know, in my mind, I had the idea that like, wow, they really stuck to that. And then we start getting into the details, and it's like, these links don't work, or this is clearly contradicts this. Someone forgot about, oops, hit the mic. Someone forgot about this, you know. So I think it seemed more put together on the outside, and then when you start getting into it, it's like, okay, it's still a little patchy in some places.
Right. It's much like their client, held together in duct tape in places.
Yes, which is a shame. I feel like it's understandable in a lot of ways that there's been so many writers and they've changed it a lot, and there's a lot of champions, and it's a big world. But at the same time, I don't think it would have been impossible for them to have like an encyclopedia of stuff, you know, like a digital one. So when someone is adding something to the lore, they can look to make sure it makes sense or change things so that they do, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
For sure. I mean, the other thing that kind of surprises me, I guess, is how consistently there are things that are... I find myself saying, like, oh, that's pretty cool. I kind of want to see this thing, like, more of this thing or more of that thing, you know? Like, whenever we're saying, like, oh, this has potential, it's because the idea is pretty solid, and it's something that, like, I just want to see portrayed in some way. So I guess I've been surprised how consistent that's been across all of their world. I don't know.
That kind of raises another thing for me. I was not expecting the lore to get me as excited for the MMO as it has, but like,
oh yeah,
I would say like I was middling excitement for the MMO when I heard about it, because I'm not a big MMO guy. I don't really play MMOs, but like after reading through all the lore that we've read through, I am very excited for the MMO.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah,
completely agree.
Alrighty. Next, our last two questions come from Noka, who asks, which champ do you think has the most overrated lore, and which champ's lore do you think is the most underappreciated?
Ooh, I feel like I'm gonna hurt feelings if we start on this line.
Go ahead.
I don't know, man.
Overrated.
Overrated?
I have a thought on this one.
Ooh, go for it.
I got a couple. You can go ahead, though.
I'm gonna take this on the angle of overrated by Riot.
Okay, I love that.
Which is
Garen. I like that.
Garen
didn't deserve his own novella.
I'm with you there. I feel that.
Riot thought they had something that they didn't have.
To be fair, is he really the star of it, though? Is it not Cythria's novella? Like, let's be fair here. I would argue that. I think
it's very true, which is, I don't know. I using him to get people to read about a person who's not even a champion when they have 180 like really compelling champions that they could write about was also a weird move.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. I do. I can see like the executive board perspective on it. It's like, this is our first, we're dipping our toes into the novella waters. What's like a safe, like, just by the numbers champion who's someone who's just looking for a light fantasy novella is going to read? Garen really stacks up high in that ranking, right? He's a big sword guy, right? It's not, don't worry about it, you know? That's fair. That's fair. I don't know. I kind of feel like along that line, I would say maybe Azir. I think both by Riot and from the way this is my base on those like seeing people comment about it in like Reddit and shit. So I don't know like what the lore fan base at large thinks, but I think people either haven't like read. Look clinky. I think people haven't really like read Azir's like bio and stuff with as much scrutiny maybe as it deserves, because I think they kind of see the broad strokes and they kind of see the ideas that the writer is trying to get across, and like, oh yeah, I'm on board, I get it. You know, it's like two brothers who are twisted against each other, but that's not really what's happening, right? It's like when you actually read it in detail and get and like start getting into the nitty gritty, it's a lot worse, I think, than people kind of realize. The other one that sticks out for me is like Kayle and Morgana. I know there are people who listen to this who really love Kayle and Morgana. I feel really bad.
Answer. That's a good
I think
answer.
I dumped on them a lot in their episodes, but I still see people really. It's like, gosh, I gotta like stop myself. It gets me upset when I think about it, because it's like, you know, this ideas of punitive justice versus restorative justice. It's like, you know, this is not like a new idea at all, and you know, like. Les Mis exists. Like, you know, there's like so many other pieces in the broad scheme of art and literature and all this shit that like engage with these ideas in so much better and so much more. And like Kayle and Morgana just like skim the surface so barely. Why are we spending any of our time talking about them? I don't know. I don't want to be so mean, but it's just like that's the one that really gets under my skin, I guess. I'll say
it's very unnuanced approach to the topic.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, even when so we watched the Still Here cinematic, and you know, I go and read the comments, and there's so many people talking about like, oh, this look that Kayle gives Morgana is so like magnificently like it's so well done, and it's like, come on, man, Kayle Morgana, like this just like why and whatever. I'm gonna have to stop myself. I'm getting upset.
That could be your thing. I think one of the areas I find the least intriguing that gets a lot of attention is everything with like Shen and Zed and Akali. I find all that so boring, y'all. I'm real sorry. I find that to be all very overrated. That's just not interesting to me. I feel a little bad.
How did you like the Jin involvement in all
Jin
that?
is the
like
only
in the Zed
interesting
comic?
part. for
I kind of agree,
me,
yeah.
Is like them trying to hunt down Jin, but for kind of different reasons. That's really interesting. Everything else with Shen's dad and all that. Or as our daughter would say, yeah, I'm not into that. Yeah, who's underappreciated?
Actually, I want
That's
to
a good
add
question.
one more to this.
Oh, sure. Yeah, fuck it.
Bitch fest,
because we
let's
haven't
Right.
gotten there yet. But
Ooh.
I remember I read his lore, you know, back in the day, and I feel like the people who really liked it might be, and again, I'm so sorry to you out there, might be some of the most insufferable lore fans, but fucking Victor.
Oh,
Interesting.
Like,
that's interesting.
his original lore wasn't that great, guys. So when they changed him to be more of a villain, and people were like, you destroyed his nuance, like, there wasn't a lot of nuance there, and you're gonna be even more upset now that fucking Arcane is
Arcane,
canon,
I would say
I'm sure.
that's nuance. Like, that's
Right,
a great
yeah.
character. He's amazing in Arcane.
I know. I'm excited that is now canon Victor.
Canon.
Because yeah, he was better than any version of the original lore, for sure.
I would imagine. I expect that will be the case. This has actually caused me to add another one to my list, which
I'm
is
loving this.
the old lore, broadly speaking, right? Just the old League of Legends, old pieces of
Okay.
lore. I think Rose Tinted Goggles is like the name of the game when it comes to old lore. I find a lot of people who see I think there's a lot of people who just like, it's kind of the same with Azir, where they just kind of vaguely remember the old judgments and stuff like that, and they're like, this was so much better, like, you know, Gallia was so much better, or that's not when people say that much. I'm trying to think, like, I don't know, I saw someone arguing that old Fatal Six was better. I don't know, man. It's just like, I think people, it's like they haven't read those stories in years. They were younger and had more of an attachment. They just like attached to them emotionally, and it's like, if you sat down and read it now, it's kind of like, this is pretty goofy, or the Journal of Justice kind of sucks ass, like shit like that, right? And I was one of those people in some ways, so I think it's like, just read the stories and you'll see what's going on. So. Yeah, underappreciated. Let's get out of negative. Let's get into positive. Who's underappreciated? It's hard for me
to say because I feel like I don't really know what people are really excited about in the lore.
I guess we could go by our download. Have we had any that really didn't have good downloads?
That's
first
a
of all,
really good.
Jax, I think should have more downloads than he does. I don't know if I can look by lowest downloads.
This is interesting.
Let's see.
We're doing data driven. This is some.
I like that a lot, actually.
Because it's a good point. Because it's like, I think it's, it is hard to know what's the finger on the pulse of the lore community, right? I think it can be very splintered too, because people are very invested in specific champions or storylines, and they could give two fucks about. If you're really into Shin, you might not give a fuck about the Freljord or whatever.
I'm gonna let John. He's gonna have more stuff that he can look at than I do.
Singed, I think I'll just say probably.
Ooh, that's great. I was gonna say Urgot.
Singed is actually very good. I like that.
But I think Singed is a great answer. Yeah. I don't think people necessarily realize what Singed lore is. They probably don't think to look it up because they're like, he's like a chemist guy, right? Like whatever. He's like torturing people in Zon. That's what I thought. Yeah, finding that was all way more interesting for sure.
Yeah, and I mean the thing too is that what you just said is technically accurate in a very brief summary of that story. He's down torturing people in Zon. That is true, but it's just the writing of the story itself. John, do you have something for us? Do you have data for us?
It had to send.
Email it. I thought it just send the top 10.
It should be all episodes.
Okay.
It should be.
Did you just download it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh gosh, it's making me extract it. So
it's got to be more than 10, right?
It's got to be a big piece of data.
Oh god, it's the top 10. That's so funny.
Wow. Simple cast.
But it's telling us when they were published. Do you want to hear the top 10? It's been a little while.
Sure, yeah. Let's go.
Let's hear the top 10 while we're here.
Aatrox, Ari, Akali. All makes sense. They're all nays. Then Jin. He is in the top 4.
Is he number 4?
Yep, he's number 4. That is perfect.
He's number 4. Oh god,
that's
so good.
That's so good. Then we have Arcane Act 1, Arcane Act 3. People didn't give a fuck about Arcane Act 2. Aphelios, Fiddlesticks. Then Alistar, then Kaisa. Kaisa is surprising. And so is Fiddlesticks. Huh.
That is interesting. What's your theories? I got them. I got the theories.
Maybe people wanting to know what his lore is now, and this was an easier way to look it up, or hear about it.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I think he's very just broadly he's very compelling. He's something that makes you ask questions. I think.
Yeah.
You look at him, you want to know what that thing's deal is. And Kaisa, I think, is just very popular.
Oh, I think you can do to the. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, these are downloads daily, I think, over time, right?
Yeah, this one doesn't have any filters.
That's so weird. We can't see.
I can.
All downloads for every episode, I know.
We might be able to actually, if we do, not on this episode. We definitely won't have a time, but I might be able to.
Oh, okay. Well, it's all right. I think Singed is good. Can I look at the list of episodes and just start scrolling through them, kind of?
Ooh, that's a good idea. Honestly,
I feel like I forget all of the champions.
Yeah, I have to really sit down and start thinking.
Go to the top, hun. Just go to the top. Nope. And then keep going. Then just go to episodes.
I'm just going through a list of champions. Yeah,
this is also good. Underappreciated.
I still think that the Annie cinematic, I know this isn't lore specific, but her cinematic, the Annie Origins cinematic video is still insanely good. I think it is. It is one of the most beautiful things that Riot's ever made. I mean, Arcane maybe is the only thing better.
Yeah.
It is great.
Yeah.
Honestly, Thresh has some great lore, especially when you can throw the ruination.
That's fair.
into it.
I think people don't necessarily understand how much Thresh has been involved in everything. that's kind of happened in that area, which we talked about with Viego's episode. But that's good. I would say Thresh is so well known, though, I assume.
That's true. Yeah, I'm looking for a real sleeper hit.
Yeah, but I mean, even well known, I still think he's underappreciated. I feel like he's well known because he's so visually distinct, and because people
and he stole
very much connect.
Senna.
Yeah, he's he's the guy who stole Senna.
I feel like that's true.
The rest of his lore is so underappreciated. Him, like, you know, obviously his role in the initial ruination. You know, even what he's up to now, him fucking with Ledros, like,
yeah,
it's all great.
It's true. The guy's got a lot. As I'm looking through the list, I would say I feel like Callista. I'm remembering her stories and even the newer one she got for Ruination, and I thought they were both really good.
Yeah, you're right.
And she's got a really cool aesthetic. And
Poppy is really fun, actually.
Yeah,
like more fun than I thought. More potential there than anything, but
it's just a really fun idea. I think Kindred is appropriately appreciated, which is nice.
That's true.
Yeah, Kindred's great.
I'm just looking through the list of champions now and just thinking, like, who do I feel like has really good stuff that I wish got more play?
God, I can't believe how many episodes we've done now.
I know, right?
Too many.
Right? You just look through them. Yeah, this
It's
is
like we
actually the
only have
last one.
Couple more rows left on the universe page of champions. That's fucking weird.
That is wild.
No.
Oh, funny enough, Kiana, specifically the Ishtal stuff, like maybe not her specifically, but the big lie that Ishtal runs on is a really neat idea, and I don't think, obviously no one is really keyed into it, because unless you read that one story that's very long and confusing.
No one else, it's not really like involved in any other person's lore who's in Ishtal. That's true. I like that.
You know, I would say Graves, because like we loved him. I don't think we had heard about anything related to Graves' lore before we started talking about him.
That's true.
I don't see a lot of people talking about him. Certainly not in our top 10s, but like he's got great lore.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh gosh, I'm lost. Hang on, let me find.
We lost in the sauce. I'm getting kind of drunk on this champagne.
All right, I think we'll be able to talk about this one for a while. This last question from Noka, who said, if you were given the ability to greenlight a AAA level game set in Runeterra, which champ/storyline/regions would you want it to be about?
Oh,
so, a high budget AAA game. Yeah. Ooh, that's so hard.
Man. Okay. All right. You got me fucked up.
Maybe we should have looked at these questions beforehand, but that's okay.
No. It's interesting. I mean, I would really like a full proper, like, complex RPG, you know, where you could really spend time in the world and do a lot of decision making that would really affect things, you know, like, Baldur's Gate 3 type something. I haven't even played that yet, but I just, I've seen enough that I think it's a pretty good example of like a really high standard of RPG quality. So something like that. I don't know if it needs to be about specific champions, or even regions necessarily. Frankly, if you did something like that, I would want it to be pretty globe-trotting, I feel like. But that's hard, right?
Which region do I want to explore the most? Like, if I were to pick a top one, where would it be? It seems so cliche to say Piltover and Zon, but it feels good. Actually, I think Noxus would have a lot of fun, like, underground shit, right? Like, hidden stuff.
Yeah.
And getting involved with, like, Mordekaiser and everything that's going on there. That could be fun. Could be crazy.
Man.
Can I see that?
Oh, my phone? Okay.
I kind of feel like maybe like a Souls-like action set in the Freljord with it had like heavy horror elements through interactions with the Ursine.
I'm too bad at Souls-likes.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I say that after playing like Song of Nunu, I think the Freljord has so much potential for a gaming area. That's true.
Let's see.
It's hard.
Good AAA.
It's a really hard thing.
I
Yeah.
know. Every region would be really fun, I think, to explore. I think Shurima would be fun with all the void areas and all these like really small individual towns and how different they could each be. Because I think every little town in Shurima is so different. Kind of like the Freljord, though, in that way.
Yeah.
But, I mean, going around Zon and then, like, bouncing between Piltover and Zon. God, that would be so fun.
I would love
maybe Shurima
and Ionia.
Ionia? That's more your vibe, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't even know
Ionia
what
always
the
sounds
type of
really
game
cool.
would be.
That's the thing is I keep trying to break it down by like genre, right, or like kind of the structure of it. Because I think like what you're talking about with Shurima, very good, like sort of like an open world type situation, almost maybe like
like a Ghost of Tsushima type game.
Oh, okay.
Something where you have a big space so you could really spend time in. You could go find all the the ruins to go explore and all these cool things. Yeah, and that's the way I'm breaking it down. Is like, what region and what genre of game do you make in that region? You know,
That's
like
true.
You could do a great first-person shooter, like maybe like a BioShock type situation in like Zon, right, where you could get like cool upgrades and augments to augment your normal weaponry.
Ooh, that would be fun. BioShock's like my favorite game. I feel like Ishtal would be a good like Predator type area.
Monster Hunter, something like that.
Ooh,
almost.
Monster Hunter. Yeah, Shurima could be like that too, I guess.
Ooh, actually, hold on. While I'm still feeling Ionia. I feel like a Sekiro Shadows Die Twice style game where you play as Yone fighting against the Azakana would be pretty hype.
We haven't gotten a Y yet, so I don't know why you know his lore.
Oh, what the
Are
hell
you
are you talking
cheating?
about?
Are you skimming ahead?
We've interacted with Yone more than enough. I do that. Yeah, I am a fan of that idea, though, man. Gosh.
If you could be a champ, like play a champion in a game, who would you want to pick? I guess, like in that AAA game, or if you were playing a first-person shooter in Zon, would you want to play a certain champion? Probably not. I guess you probably want a different champ, but because playing as Nuno and Willump was really fun, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I have to think about it. Like what? I'm trying to like translate
fun mechanics. Yeah,
or like just a champion fantasy, right? Like I'm trying to translate it to like a different game type, right? So like I don't know. Imagine like a first person shoot. Imagine like a Left 4 Dead style or like Vermintide, rat game style, like co-op first person shooter in Zon where you're each playing a different champion. And like one person's Blitzcrank, and Blitzcrank is like kind of a tank who can like pull high priority enemies so that the team can kill them. One person's like Jinx, and they're like the DPS. You know what I'm saying? Like one person's like Twitch or something. I don't know, like an assassin, something. You know what I mean? Like high damage.
That would be fun.
I would be Urgot.
Urgot, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I think Nidalee would be fun, bouncing between like her cat form. It'd be like Twilight Princess, you could turn into a wolf and just run around.
That'd be really good in like a platformer, maybe like you do like a platformer thing, yeah.
No, I was thinking like a third-person fighting game, like God of War type, but
like a hack and slash,
not Kratos. Yes, like a hack and slash. Yeah.
I mean that could still work. Maybe you do a nice little combo.
I just suck at platformers, so I don't want to do that. But that would probably be a good platformer.
I just meant like if you could use the cat form as like a means to like like expand your like your jump and move set and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
What about
they did it already, but I feel like Ezreal was a great choice to have or not Ezreal.
Oh, Echo.
Echo was like a great choice
For a platform? Yeah,
I
for
feel
sure.
like his mechanics really lent himself to something like that. So I'm glad they did it. Not the biggest fan of Metroidvanias, but
yeah, we haven't played it.
I will eventually get to it.
Yeah, I'll probably pick it up pretty soon. Give it a crack. So yeah, it's hard to think like which champion. You know what I mean? I just feel like it's sort of like the game will kind of inform which champion is like appropriate to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I suppose.
Is there a storyline you really like in a AAA game like that?
Well, that's a good point. That's a good question.
God, sorry.
Celestial.
Thank you. God, Bilgewater would be so fun. Like all of the there's so many people, like with Tom Kench, something going on with Tom Kench or something like that.
It'd be a lot of fun. I loved the time we spent in Bilgewater in the Ruined King.
Oh yeah,
I think that was a lot of fun. I was gonna say Shadow
Yeah, that's
Isles
very
too, but the Ruined King also went there. So
It's true.
But yeah, I loved
think-
my time.
It's true. I think I'd really like to I think I'd really like to take that RPG idea and put it in Ionia, and I'd like it to be about like Aurelia, and I'd really like it to be about Aurelia, like, and try and really get into the a lot of the ideas that they kind of play around with within there in that region around like kind of how do they move forward, and like Aurelia is kind of like she's faced with a couple different. God, I keep hitting the mic. A couple different. Ways she could go, and like putting that in the hands of the player, kind of deciding like how Aurelia and in turn Ionia sort of changes in response to like all this shit. I think that's kind of what I want, because I thought she was so underwritten. It like is criminal in my mind how little story Aurelia got. So I want her to have a lot more. Put her in a big old RPG, big 80-hour, 60-hour, whatever. Something that's just really long and full of text. You know what I mean?
Mark just wants to read and play a game.
I can't decide if I should read a book or play a game. I guess I'll do both. I don't know. I think that's, yeah.
Well, we have one last question on the Discord, and John's been trying to find it for a while.
Yeah, because
he forgot to.
Because the search functionality was working earlier, and now it's not. So now I have to scroll through general to find it.
That general chat really goes, huh?
Which was my bad. Should have just put it in the podcast channel. There we go.
Oh, here we go.
All right, so this was okay.
And who's asking this?
This is by Thermite Enjoyer, who is, it's Jesus Christ, my brain just shut off. Medarda tier supporter.
Which one?
Which one?
Shupa Mustache.
Shupa.
Shupa, okay.
I was going to go in order. Big man, no.
This is what happens when people change their names in Discord
It's
every
very
day.
confusing. Yeah.
My brain is too old to keep up.
Help John's brain.
So it is another MMO related question. But let's see. What area of the MMO are you most excited to see, play, or do?
And then zones and quests, etc. Ooh, I look forward to I want Yordle quests. I want to run into Teemo and have him give me dumbass side quests to do. I think that would be really fun.
You're doing that right now, aren't you?
I kind of am able to. I haven't met Teemo yet. Okay.
I like
but that'll be different. I'm building things. I want him to have me sneak into someone's house and put a mushroom in their soup. You know?
So you want the Spirit Blossom Teemo?
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
Or he could have me do something
prankster.
more noble. Yeah. We'll see. Who knows what Teemo we get?
You like something a little goofy. I want some monster or some horrible creature that we've read about. I want to see some gigantic earth sign monster that we have to do as a big boss raid, or some I'm trying to remember what they call those big ice worm things.
The Kraken worms.
Kraken worm. I want to kill a fucking Kraken worm. Something that I've read about.
Really cool if you had to perform an earth sign ritual or something like that, or help participate and gather the little children heads or whatever for the earth sign ritual or whatever it would say.
Yeah.
I would love to explore Mount Targon, because I feel like everything we hear about it we hear very little about it, I think, in the stories, but then when you expand to Legends of Runeterra, there's so much cool ass shit in Mount Targon that looks so badass. I mean, even the one cinematic where you're gonna have to help me with the names here, but that Fae character finds the little flying
the Stellacorn or whatever.
Stellacorn, yeah. even what we get to see of Targon in that cinematic is so cool. I would love to just walk through there and see giants and dragons and shit.
Yeah, it's funny. I always forget about Targon. I was like thinking through all the different
Same.
regions, and it didn't cross my brain. But
Did not. Yeah.
it has one of the coolest aesthetics, and it's probably one of the most I feel like original aesthetics. Like a lot of the other ones, I think harken to a lot of other existing things. But Targon, I'm hard pressed to think of other things to be like, oh, this is like if I was describing it to someone who's never seen it. Like it's hard for me to think of like, oh, it's kind of like this or kind of like that. Maybe I'm just like ignorant of other things, but Bilgewater is like, oh, it's pirates,
Yeah.
That's a pretty easy one, shit like that,
I hope we get to explore like one of the many, I assume, like ghost towns around, something that's been destroyed. Like Shurima has a couple of areas that have been destroyed, like seeing like old like the city of Shurima or something like that, or like a town that's been destroyed by fiddlesticks. I think would be really fun. Or Nocturne,
like Havenfall or something.
Yeah,
something
like
like
a
sacked
Havenfall.
by Hecarim.
Where there's like a few people left who have just like fucking lost their mind, and they're just like kind of like picking through, and they're like maybe vaguely dangerous if you stay too long or something like that. Like a splicer going back to Bioshock.
I love that. I would really look. I didn't think those little details are what are really going to make it. Things like that. I want to go like to Ionia and find towns that are under like Noxian occupation, or like or Master Yi, like the old like Wuju village and shit. Oh my god. Now this is making me excited. The other question made me angry. This is making me excited.
Because this is still happening, right, guys? It's still gonna happen.
Yeah, sure.
Right. We don't need Ghost Crawler to have a good MMO, right?
Yeah, I'll have copium all night, man. It's a celebration.
Well, that's it for questions. Any other things we want to talk about, just randomly?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, thank you all.
Yeah, of course.
I feel like, I mean, you mentioned it at the beginning, but like when we set out to do this podcast, it was not with the expectation that we would ever
listen.
Yeah, that anyone would listen. Certainly not, a million different downloads. So, I mean, because we have another podcast that will never get to a million, even close.
I mean, we stopped doing it, but it was... we would get like maybe a couple downloads a week, and I was expecting maybe more from this because I was like, it's a little bit more niche. It's not a movie podcast. We were doing a movie one, and we aren't. Who the fuck are we? Nobody.
We're us.
But we didn't find another lore
delightful.
podcast at the time. Not really. Like, nothing lore specific that we were doing, like, exactly. So, but yeah.
So this has been a surprise and a delight. And thank you all for coming along for the ride.
Made us closer to Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's I mean that's part of the reason.
Week.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry that you have to, but at least I've been drinking a lot of the time.
Sorry.
So it makes
How dare you?
No, I mean that's been fun, but I mean, and obviously I'm insanely grateful for the time people spend with us, and I think it also makes me a little happy that like people are interested in the lore. Does that make sense? That like it's something that I like. At looking back on all this, it's like I like the League of Legends lore. We complain about it in many ways, but I like it. And I think it's kind of exciting to see that there are so many people who are interested in it. And that there's very much a demand for that stuff. And if there's a demand, maybe Riot will properly supply it.
Please, Riot, we're so hungry.
Please.
Yeah. It feels like I don't know. It just makes me think of like way back before all this shit, right? Before like I ever worked at Riot, when I just played a lot of League of Legends, and I liked the lore, and none of the people around me knew anything about League of Legends lore, and it's like I could never tell the people about like, oh man, did you know this about Trundle or whatever? Like no one gives a fuck, right? But here we are. Right.
It's kind of like now when we try to explain the podcast to people who've never heard of League of Legends.
Yeah,
like,
it's
so
hard.
there's this game, right? And there's like tons of champions, but they all have like their own stories,
story,
right? And like we talk about the stories. Like, okay. And like You're still doing like
still
you're not
doing
done.
that?
There's
Yeah.
still lore to talk about, and people listen to that.
Yes. Shut up.
My father-in-law, he just knows I do this like podcast thing, right? He's a really nice guy. And Sarah was telling him about it. He's like, well, I'm gonna go listen to it. She's like, okay, whatever. And he texts her back. He's like, I don't know what any of it means, but you know what? It sounds like they're having a good time.
She sent me that screenshot of that text. He was like, I don't understand a word, but it sounds fun.
But God bless them. They're trying.
Yeah.
My parents said they listen to it every now and then. They're like, yeah, we don't really know what y'all are talking about, but it's fine. Yeah. Sorry I swear so much, Mom and Dad.
I sincerely doubt my mom and dad listen to it, but just in case, Hi Mom, hi Dad, I love you. I'm sorry I swear a lot too, I guess.
No one in my family listens to this, and if they do, you're the ones who fucking taught me to swear like this, so I ain't apologizing for nothing. It's a Jersey thing. We all just swear at each other. Forget about it. I'm sorry. I will say I like having all this lore knowledge once Arcane came out, because like having people who don't know anything about League watch Arcane and then ask questions, and I'm like, I have all the answers for you. Ask me any question you want. I know everything about Piltover and Zon, which I don't, but comparatively.
Right, comparatively for sure. And then finding out that now that's just the version of Piltover and Zon. And now we know exactly as much about Piltover and Zon as the people who watched Arcane for the first time.
No, Caitlin's going to be the sheriff. They don't freaking know that. They're not changing that.
That's true.
Exactly right. Yeah. You got the inside scoop. It's nice. You can lord it over people.
That's true. We know a lot of story beats from season 2 just through our knowledge of the lore. So,
Victor's going to break bad, probably.
Victor's going to break bad. We know Warwick's going to be in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Man.
But yeah, thank everyone. Thank you.
I think that's it.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Thank you for listening, and thank you so much for listening today as well. We have a Twitch, twitch.tv/Loreheads. It's only me and John for the moment. Maybe one day Mark will stream on it. That would be really fun.
Sure. Yeah.
You don't have to stream. I'm just kidding. John streams on Saturdays. He does TFT and ARAMs with viewers. He didn't last week because things got weird, but I think he will be this week, even with Final Fantasy Rebirth coming out. He's going to be sacrificing Final Fantasy time for that. So. Yeah,
so I hope y'all appreciate it. It'll probably be a slightly shorter stream than normal, but
2 minutes. He just shows up.
Deuces.
Just stream fight. You just have the camera on you while you're playing Final Fantasy Rebirth on the couch. There you go. I've started Vandaltale. I don't want to play it without streaming it, so I haven't played it since that first one. Hopefully by the time this comes out, I will have streamed it again, but the VOD will be up on Twitch. And I'm trying to get back into streaming SR on Mondays with our buddies. But again, this Monday was, what were we doing? I was editing the podcast on Monday because the weekend was weird. Anyway, but yeah, that's what happens there. We have a YouTube. You could see videos and clips and fun parody songs that John has done there. It's a fun time, good time. We have a Discord as well if you want to join in, talk to some people about League, or scroll through that very large general chat. I saw people showing off their D&D dice at some point. A lot of memes I didn't get. If you want to jump in on that, join the Discord. We do have a Patreon, as we talked about. We are kind of on our updating stage of Patreon right now, where we're doing a decent job. We recently watched the Urfitational and reacted to that, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, which I realized today is not actually on Patreon yet.
Oh, by the time this episode comes out, yeah.
I uploaded it to YouTube several days ago, and then never made a post about it.
It's okay. It'll be up tonight, probably, then. We will very shortly be getting extremely drunk. I might take an edible and do some of the champion impressions that we missed. Nice. A through F.
I thought you just meant tonight. Like
just right now. I think I'm just gonna take an edible.
As soon as we get done with this episode, we're hitting the sauce.
Popping it.
Which I'm already kind of there. So
I figured, Mark, you usually. Yeah.
Okay.
Look at your hair. You clearly smoke pot.
No. I just meant that I'm very drunk right now.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, sorry. I thought you were just ripped. Anyway,
well, yes,
thank you so
also,
much. to all of our patrons.
But a very special thank you to our Medarda tier patrons. Big Man Gnomes, John Has a Dig Bick, King of Hearts, and Mr. Dead. If you guys hadn't listened to a single episode, I would, come to your house and recap them for you.
Oh, I like that.
Which, I don't know if that sounds more like a threat, but I mean it in a good way.
While you're sleeping, I will break in and
He
whisper
never said that.
the recap in your ear.
He just make sure that they have a nice ASMR sleep. And if they ask him to leave, he probably will.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. I ask him to leave a lot. He's still here.
But you have to do it thrice in quick succession.
Yeah, it's like a Rumpelstiltskin
as
situation.
Per the scroll that
John,
you signed when we
the
first met.
scroll. All right. Oh, God, I didn't look up who we're doing next.
I know who we're doing
It's
next.
Vi.
No, it's not Vi.
It's Victor.
It's Victor. Unless we do Smolder.
Oh, that's true.
Ooh.
Do we want to
Should
do
we
back-to-back Camivorians, though?
Do you want to do... I don't know, man. Kinda.
All right, let's do it. Fucking
All right, what's
Smolder,
Smolder's
baby.
title? Does anybody know?
The fledgling...
The fledgling flame.
You have my phone. I can't. Let's see who's closest. His guess is the fledgling flame. What's your guess, John?
You know what? I'm just going to say the fledgling.
Ooh.
I like that
love
better.
This. Let's see.
Ooh. I think you're more right now that I've looked at it.
Oh, have you just looked at it?
Yeah, but I said that I looked at it after I guessed.
Okay. It's the fiery fledgling.
I think John's closer.
I feel like you're close. You said the fledgling flame. You kind of got the flame part in there. You just had it in the wrong order. I'm going to give it to you on this one.
No, but you said he's the fledgling, and that ultimately is
You
what
both
he is.
were wrong. Can we
All
just
right.
say that?
I think we were
Ladies,
both
you're
right.
both ugly.
fucked
Come
it
on.
up. Can't even look at you anymore. Be sure to join us next week. If you haven't guessed already, we're going to be talking about the fiery fledgling Smolder. Achoo!
Smolder, I hardly know her.
All right.